Well, good afternoon. I want to greet you, our Creighton family, our many devoted faculty and students, members of the Board of Trustees, and administrators of the university, parents, alumni, and friends. Above all, we would like to greet Father John P. Schlegel of the Society of Jesus and any family and friends of Father Schlegel who are able to join us in honoring him today. My name is Eileen Burke-Sullivan, and I serve as the Vice Provost for Mission and Ministry here at Creighton University. It is a great pleasure for me to work with the leadership of the Center for Service and Justice in the new division of Mission and Ministry here at Creighton. Just over 40 years ago, at the 32nd General Congregation of the Society of Jesus, the elected fathers of the congregation asserted the service of faith and the promotion of justice cannot be for us simply one ministry among others. It must be the integrating factor of all of our ministries. And not only of our ministries, but also of our inner life as individuals and as communities. 20 years later, at General Congregation 34, the Jesuits reasserted this important principle and shaped its context within institutions or apostolates that are Jesuit in truth. In each of our different apostolates, they wrote, we must create communities of solidarity in seeking justice. Working together with our colleagues, every Jesuit ministry can and should promote justice in one or more of the following ways: in direct service and accompaniment of the poor, in developing awareness of the demands of justice joined to the social responsibility to achieve it, and by participating in social mobilization for the creation of a more just social order. Creighton University has been deeply committed to the formation of the whole Creighton community in the Catholic Jesuit mission that underlies this university. We have been blessed to have in our administrative leadership and faculty men and women deeply committed to this mission of the faith that does justice. No one has had a greater appreciation of the service of faith and the promotion of justice than has Father John P. Schlegel of the Society of Jesus. On behalf of the university and the Center for Service and Justice, I welcome you, and I invite you to rejoice in the naming of our Center for Service and Justice in Father Schlegel's name and honor. We welcome you, Father Schlegel, back to Creighton to say thank you for supporting our Catholic Jesuit mission so completely and for influencing all of us to more courageously create a faithful community of solidarity seeking justice. I now ask Ken Reed-Bouley, the director of the center, to share his remarks.
I am privileged to stand before you to thank, honor, and celebrate Father John Schlegel, including his support of the Creighton Center for Service and Justice. Father Schlegel, as president, you prayed with our students as we sent them off on service and justice trips. You blessed our students and their families every May at the postgraduate volunteer and religious life missioning ceremony. You helped us initiate Project Homeless Connect Omaha and volunteered regularly in the community yourself. You helped us find our voice and encouraged our efforts with justice education and Ignatian advocacy. Thank you for believing in and supporting our mission and our work. Before I say more about Father Schlegel and show you a related video, I want to thank a few other people who have made the CCSJ what it is today. Thank you first and foremost to our current and former students, many of whom are gathered here this afternoon with us in the beautiful new t-shirts that Jeff Peak designed. and who are the driving force behind everything that we do. All right. Equally important, thank you to our community partners here in Omaha, in Nebraska, around the country, and around the world. You'll hear soon from Tim Sully, one of our important community partners at Siena Francis House. You are co-educators of our students and allies in our mission of service, faith, and justice. Thank you to our many collaborators throughout Creighton's faculty, staff, alumni, the Jesuit community, and especially our colleagues in the Division of Mission and Ministry. Thank you to the donors who are making this wonderful day and honor possible. And thank you to former staff of the CCSJ, especially my predecessor as director and a dear friend of all of our current staff, Maria Teresa Gaston. And finally, thank you, special thanks to our current staff, Wendy Malashevsky, Kelly Tadeo-Orbic, Jeff Peak, and graduate assistants Mike Rios and Kat Keating, and Jesuit novice Min Lei. Would all of you please, former and current staff, please stand and be recognized. The day that I read Father Schlegel's letter about his illness, but long before I knew about the possibility of the naming of the CCSJ for him, I wrote to Father Schlegel. Here is an excerpt from that email. Dear Father Schlegel, your letter has brought tears to my eyes in its beauty, joy, and sadness. I expect this seems mundane and small at this point, but I want you to have a sense of the influence you have had well beyond what you could ever realize. For example, I know it was you who wanted CCSJ to be in the heart of the Harper Center, right next to admissions, and therefore first stop on all campus tours for prospective students and their families. This location has allowed us to grow our programs and expand our influence both with students and with the community. You have been responsible for planting many seeds of service, faith, and justice. With those seeds in mind, I share with you a brief trailer of a longer video by that same name, Seeds, the Service and Justice Trip Story, produced by two current Creighton students. The video features a young Jesuit named Damian Torres-Botello who spent last spring semester with us in the CCSJ. You'll see him talking about seeds, which is where the title comes from. I just wanted to give you a sense of how much you have been a part of and influenced the CCSJ and our students, how many seeds you have planted as you have walked on your journey. You have helped many of us to live out Arupe's and the Society's faith that does justice. I am grateful our paths crossed for over 10 years here at Creighton. Peace, prayers, and blessings, Ken Reed-Bouley. I want to share this video with all of us now as a tribute to Father Schlegel in thanksgiving for the seeds that he planted with our students and the CCSJ.
It's not every student at Creighton or at any other institution that would choose to give up their spring or fall break to come and work.
You are stepping outside of your comfort zone, and I guess my take on it has always been that's part of what college is for.
Have students have that space of discomfort is something that they could really learn from or grow from. And we're going to send you to the service site where maybe you're uncomfortable or you feel out of place, but we see that as an opportunity for learning.
Probably one of the best weeks I've had in a very long time. I thought I was just going to go there and, build a house and just maybe put down some tile and floor it, but it became so much more than that.
No, it's praxis, putting the theory into action, even in a small way.
And so it's not some kind of foreign concept. It's a real person, and it's someone that I interacted with and that made an impact on my life, and hopefully I made an impact on their life.
What I would hope would blossom from these seeds that are being planted is a sense of vocation.
Service trips can be transformative. Students should go in open to transformation. I think that if they let a service and justice trip touch them very deeply, it may send them on a new trajectory entirely.
So whether their career takes them into business or healthcare or social work, we want them to be faithful, engaged citizens and to have the sense of becoming a liberation whatever.
I don't know what I want to do with my immediate future, but I know I'm going to make the world a better place. I know I want to make the world a better place.
This is not a fleeting moment. This is not about the trip itself. The trip is part of a longer formation, and it's not the pinnacle of your formation either. It's just part of it. The real work begins after the formation.
That's why we're here. You know, it's not just you go on service trips and they end. It's not a travel experience. It's a holistic experience.
You know, it's hard and it's awkward and it's different, but you know, working for justice is hard and awkward and different anyways.
It was so deeply impactful for me. It was very profound, and it shook my world up.
That video is the brief trailer of the full-length video, about 25 minutes, that is on our website if you'd like to see that. And I'd like to ask Mike Rios and Nico Sandy to stand. They're the two students who produced and did everything for that video, if they could please stand. Thank you. Father Schlegel, thank you for planting seeds and helping us to live our CCSJ mission to awaken hearts and lives of solidarity to build a more just world. I pray that we may all continue to work together in faith to live out this mission. In the words of former Secretary of the United Nations, Dag Hammarskjöld, for all that has been, thanks. For all that will be, yes. Thank you all, and please join me in welcoming Anna Ferguson, a senior journalism and theology major we've been asked to share a bit of her story. Anna?
When I think of what the Creighton Center for Service and Justice has meant to me over the last 3.5 years, the words of Father Pedro Arrupe, the 28th Superior General of the Jesuits, come to mind. Nothing is more practical than finding God, than falling in love in a quite absolute, final way. What you are in love with will affect everything. It will decide what will get you out of bed in the morning, what you do with your evenings, how you spend your weekends, what you read, whom you know, what breaks your heart, and what amazes you, joy and gratitude. Fall in love, stay in love, and it will decide everything. I first fell in love with Creighton long before I stepped foot on campus. As a senior in high school, hearing about the emphasis Creighton put on service, the Jesuit values, and living a faith that does justice was what brought me here. Over the years, it has been this intertwining of faith, service, and justice made possible by the CCSJ that has made my time most meaningful at Creighton. Though I met the CCSJ when I went on the Ignatian Family Teaching for Justice Conference to Washington, D.C. the fall semester of my freshman year, I truly fell in love with them on a service and justice trip later that spring. It was an experience that crucially redefined what service meant to me. As I learned about and experienced poverty and homelessness in Detroit, I learned what the term solidarity meant, and that service should be about accompanying others, not fixing them and their situations. Letting myself be touched by the social injustices I experienced on that trip, and learning how to respond to them as an advocate was extremely empowering. This was the first experience that taught me that in order to bring about lasting change, justice through advocacy needs to be a part of the service that we do. Furthermore, coming at this kind of work as a person of faith brought depth, energy, and practicality to the way I try to live what I believe. That single experience changed everything for me. Coming back, I knew I would no longer be happy pursuing majors, being involved in campus activities, and, in general, living a life that wasn't for and with others. Towards the end of my freshman year, I applied to work in the CCSJ as a student coordinator, and I've been there ever since. When I applied for that job, I didn't know a lot about the social justice issues we work with in the office, but I knew that I wanted to learn more. I knew that I was falling in love with the kind of deeper service and social justice work the CCSJ was about, and I wanted to be a part of it. 3.5 years later, I can look back and say that the service, faith, and justice work I do in the CCSJ really has decided everything for me. The people and issues I have worked with here have touched me deeply and inspired in me a true passion to bring love and justice to the broken places of this world. Without the CCSJ and the generosity of those who support our mission, I know for a fact that my time at Creighton would have looked very different. I may never have chosen the majors I did. I may never have had the experiences that inspired me to take up a vocation of simplicity, solidarity, and justice. In a very real way, I would not have fallen in love with the things that I live my life for today. So it is with deep gratitude that I thank the CCSJ and all of its supporters for all you have given me over these 3.5 years. It is a gift that will always be a part of me. Today we have Tim Sully from the Siena Francis House with us. He's a Creighton alumni and he's here to share some words.
My name is Tim Sully, a graduate of Creighton University and currently the Development Director of the Siena Francis House Homeless Shelter, located just a couple of blocks north of campus. I am honored and grateful to be here today to honor Father Schlegel in this way. I met Father Schlegel shortly before he was named Creighton's 23rd president and have come to know him as a person who truly cares about those at the margins, the poor, and the homeless. Frankly, the renaming of the Center for Service and Justice brings together a number of favorite things in my life, namely Creighton University, the Center for Service and Justice, and Father Schlegel. While a student at Creighton, I was active in the center, seeking their help as I tried to make sense of the many injustices I was learning about as a young adult, and finding out how I might possibly be able to make a difference in confronting them. The center was helpful in steering me towards service opportunities which stretched my comfort zone, but which also, for the first time in my life, invited me to consider a career in the nonprofit world following graduation. In my role at the Siena Francis House, I have the great fortune of being able to interact with Creighton students, faculty, and staff on a very regular basis. The Center for Service and Justice and other areas of the university have multiple programs which send Creighton students to our shelter to be of service to the homeless men, women, and children who find themselves in need of assistance. In any given week during the academic year, there could be up to 3 or 4 different Creighton student groups who stop by the Siena Francis House to be of service, to learn more about poverty and homelessness, and to make connections with those we serve. And a lot of you are here today, right? It goes without saying that the Creighton students with whom I regularly interact treat our homeless guests with the utmost respect and dignity. Back to Father Schlegel. I have a rather quick story which, in a small way, speaks to the reason why the naming the Center for Service and Justice in honor of Father is so appropriate. Shortly after I began working at the Siena Francis House in 2001, I happened to be in our shelter's dining room one evening during the dinner hour. As is always the case, the room was crowded with a mixture of volunteers, our kitchen staff, and many homeless people sitting down to dinner. The results of this chaotic yet well-oiled dance of humanity ensures that up to 400 homeless families and individuals are fed a meal during a 2-hour period of time each and every evening. Amid the bustle that particular evening, I found myself stepping backward in order to avoid a stream of homeless guests who were walking in. And in doing so, I quite literally bumped smack into one of our volunteers who was just finishing setting the table for the second line of dinner. When I turned around to apologize for being the source of the collision, guess who it was? Yep, it was the recently installed president of Creighton University, Father John Schlegel. I later learned that following his workday on campus, Father Schlegel would often quietly slip down to the Siena Francis House homeless shelter, don an apron, and make himself useful as a volunteer during the evening dinner meal. And over the 10 years that Father was Creighton University's president, I would often see him in our dining room, serving food to our homeless guests, helping them return their dinner trays to the kitchen, and wiping off tables. Of all the reasons that naming the Center for Service and Justice in honor of Father Schlegel is appropriate, perhaps this story of Father's very personal, unassuming service to Omaha's homeless is the most important. Thank you. Dr. Chris Bradberry, Interim President, will now provide his remarks. Dr. Bradberry.
And I worked closely with Father over the years as he led Creighton to grow in stature and in the size of the campus, as you all know. But one thing that has not changed is his passion for the mission of the Creighton Center for Service and Justice, which really is closely tied to the whole university's mission. For no matter how many students and degree programs we have or that we add, if we don't maintain the heart of our mission, which is service to others, we are not much different from any other university. So, we are grateful to Father for being here today, for helping Creighton be true to its best self, and for always keeping Creighton and the Center for Service and Justice close in his heart. Now, I would like to call on all the current CCSJ students. Okay, do we get everybody on the stage here? And now, I would ask Father John P. Schlegel of the Society of Jesus to please join me. Father, if you would. Okay, everybody stay put for just a second. I know, we can now officially announce the new name of the program that embodies Creighton's dedication to service. The John P. Schlegel, S.J., Creighton Center for Service and Justice.
It's actually a very emotional experience for me. I'm thinking of Mark Twain, that comments about my demise are much over exaggerated, and I think that's true, because I'm very much alive and well, and something like today really does fill my heart and my spirit and my energy level terrifically so. I was just commenting that there probably is nothing in the realm of this institution that I am more comfortable with than what we are celebrating today. I truly believe that the essence of the Jesuit education is reaching out and making the world a better place by making it a better place for people who fill the world. And the CCSJ students and programs over the decades have done just that. I was about to say one of my great transforming moments was in 2001. I just came in from the University of San Francisco, and the first year of a presidency is filled with a variety of things. And suddenly 9/11 took place. And that is where I found out that Creighton had an incredible depth of soul, an incredible depth of empathy, and knowing that they went beyond the boundaries of the comfortableness of this campus, just the way those students reached out to the world around them. Consequently, seeing that Maria Teresa and Ken were in the basement of St. John's Church, knowing we could do better, and we did do better, we built this building not around the center, but as I told a couple of students, it was admissions, it was employment. In the middle was CCSJ. You got in, you got out. But in the meantime, this is what you did. And that I do believe is the essence of a Jesuit education. I was very fortunate to spend some time with Pope Francis 2 weeks ago. And I had a very simple question for him. I said, what do you want the Society of Jesus to do for you? And he had 3 very brief answers. One was pray, continue your prayer. Okay, we do that. Secondly, he said, push the boundaries. Push the boundaries. That's what these young people do. They push the boundaries of their own comfort zone and make the world a better place. And then his third one was Jesuit Refugee Services, which is our word for saying, take care of the migrants and the immigrants in the world around you. And again, our programs here represent that. So I have it on very good advice that you folks are doing the right thing for the right reason. So continue to pray for them, push the boundaries, and continue to make this a better place for those around you. Thank you very much. I am deeply honored, and I am actually to the point where I cannot say much more. So, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Father, so much for those words, and thank you, students, for making it great today. So appreciate you being here very much. And Father, thank you again for all you have done for Creighton and for the Center for Service and Justice. Thank you once again to our donors who have made this all possible. I would like now to ask Father Andy Alexander to come forward to offer a blessing of the newly named John P. Schlegel, S.J., Center for Service and Justice. Father.
Most loving God of us all, we thank you for the life, service, and witness of Father John Schlegel of the Society of Jesus. On this day when we rededicate the Center for Service and Justice with his name, we thank you for his vision and support for this ministry at Creighton. Most of all, we give you thanks for his faith, for the inspiring way he has shown us his trust in God's love for him. We hold him up in prayer today, asking that your love will embrace him. If it is your will, heal him through the intercession of Pedro Arrupe. If not, we ask you to welcome him into the light of your loving face. We thank you for the blessings that have come from the ministry of CCSJ. Our students' lives have been transformed by those they have served, and they have become advocates for those who need voices for justice on their behalf. We thank you that this center will be renewed and rededicated so that Father Schlegel's name will always be connected with this ministry. May the CCSJ continue to be a sign for our commitment to form women and men of competence, conscience, and compassion, whose hearts are on fire to light other fires, so that the unjust structures of systemic poverty may be dismantled as you desire. We thank you for all who have and will support this ministry with prayer and with the resources to make this difference for your people. We ask this in Jesus' name, the merciful and compassionate face of the gospel, and in every faith tradition which blesses this Creighton community. Amen.